Hi, everybody. Let's just give 1 minute for some other people to join. We will have people in the chat collecting questions, and I will also try to answer some of your questions at the end. We will most likely be going through the materials pretty quickly, so I'll try to answer questions generally, but if you are a reserved AMO student, it's really important to speak with your coach about any specific issues because what we're going to see in this webinar is that the procedures are very different from consulate to consulate. Just give me 1 moment. Okay. See how many attendees we have. All right, we've got a good amount, so I'll get started. Thanks everybody for coming to this. My name is Ben Bradley. I'm Chief Operating Officer at AMO. I'm also a licensed attorney in the United States. So I handle the immigration matters for AMO, write all the visa invitation letters, handle the expedited appointment requests. As I'm sure many of you know or have read, the consulate processing times, interview appointment times are very, very delayed. So currently, and I'll show you here, we are keeping kind of our own record of these wait times. And as you can see here, we've got pretty much all of our countries lined up, all the different consulates. And for example, you look at Brazil, visa wait times are almost a year over between when you actually fill out your DS-160 and then when you can schedule your interview. This has made it very, very hard, obviously, for many students to get, their appointments and then get their visas, even though they're qualified. But all is not lost. At each of these consulates, you can apply for what's called an expedited visa interview. What this does is each consulate has their own criteria on what can be, what qualifies for emergency travel. And in 95% of those consulates, urgent business travel or an urgent training program does qualify for an expedited appointment. We've been very successful in getting these expedited appointments. Obviously, it comes down to the individual consulate, but if we follow this process and then you speak with your coach for kind of more detailed information on your specific consulate, we're going to have a good chance to do that. So I'm going to go through just a little basic presentation here. And I have it in this view because we're going to be switching back to my browser and we're going to be looking at some web pages here as we go through this. So we're going to just talk broadly about some of the standard visa things and then, how you go from creating first your appointment and then into an expedited appointment. So the first thing that you should do, after you reserve or even before you reserve a program while you're trying to plan out your trip is check the visa appointment wait times. I've included a link here. We'll post those links in the chat. But there's a website, the U.S. government. You see travel.state.gov, gov. That means it's a U.S. government run website. And you can actually go into this website and you can put in your consulate. For example, I'll just put in Lahore. You can see it's closed. I'll put in New Delhi. You can see, okay, 244 calendar days, 460 calendar days. Seems not very good, right? But that's okay. We still want to, obviously when you look at something like this, you want to give yourself the most amount of time to get the visa, just in case the expedited appointment isn't granted, but if you see something like this, all is not lost. There's a couple different options. So if you first can go to a different consulate, and this is called a third country appointment, you can go into that website and look around and think, okay, where are some places that I can travel that may have a shorter wait time? A really common one that we've seen some success with is in the UAE. So if you can fly to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, you can actually apply for a visa at one of those consulates. Now, it may be harder for you to get the visa, less likely a chance for you to gain that. But the thing about the UAE consulate is they're very used to third country appointments. So if you say, look, I've come to, let's say you get the appointment, go in, you say, I applied at the Abu Dhabi consulate because the consulate wait times at my consulate were 2 years. I'm going to return back to my home country at the end of this rotation. They understand that, they're familiar with that. And we have had students get success going through Abu Dhabi as a third country. So before we even get to expedited appointments, just know that you can go to different consulates within your country and different consulates outside of the country. Now, one important thing to note there, if you do apply, let's say you fill out your DS 160, you schedule your appointment, and then you want to change your appointment. If you want to change your appointment within the country, you can do that through the online portal. And we'll see different countries have different online portals, but it's a very standard process through there. If you want to apply at a different country, so let's say you were denied an expedited appointment in your home country, now you want to try to apply in Dubai or anywhere in the UAE, you would have to fill out a new DS 160. And yes, this is frustrating and annoying, but just something to keep in mind. If you want to switch your appointment to a different country, you have to fill out a different DS 160 form. Now, just some kind of very basic things here that we need to make sure we cover and understand. You should be applying for a B1, B2 visa. And this is a dual visa. It's business travel and tourism. And for electives and observerships, it is not an F visa, it's not an M visa. That is for enrolling in a U.S. school. When you're coming for an elective for your home country school to the U.S., you are not enrolling in a U.S. school. You are doing a short-term study abroad vocational program for your school. There's specific language for these types of programs in the B1, B2. So do not apply for an F or an M visa. There is specific language for student electives under B1. B1, B2 gives you the most flexibility. There's no additional support needed for a B2. If we give you a B1 visa invitation letter, that invitation letter works for a B1, B2 because it's a joint visa classification. We're supporting your B1 portion of that visa. You do not need support for the B2 version. And then the other thing you should check is, do I even really need a visa? So there are a set of countries, they're called the ESTA countries that are under the visa waiver program. And this link here, I'll just bring you over to it on my other screen. If you go to this link, you can see if you're a citizen of one of these countries, you can, through the ESTA system right here, you can travel to the US for up to 90 days under a B visa classification. So this works if you want to do 3 rotations in the US and you're a citizen of one of these ESTA countries. You do not need to worry about the expedited appointments. You don't have to worry about scheduling an appointment at all. You should go through the ESTA system. Now, you may not be eligible if you've had a denial already, or for other various reasons. You can read that on this page. But the key piece, even if you're not eligible for ESTA, you can still apply for a visa. But if you are eligible, you've never had a denial, please go through the ESTA system because it works for our rotations, and you do not need to go get an appointment and deal with all this chaos that's happening at the consulates. Okay, so now what if we do need to apply for an appointment? We're not a citizen of the ESTA country. Well, every consulate is a little different. And I know this is frustrating, but this is one of the things in the U.S. that consulates are they all have their own procedures established by an ambassador. And then there are private companies that are actually contracted to administer the appointment service. So the first thing you should do before after you've checked your visa wait times at your country is learn about the process at that specific consulate. And a really easy way to do this is most of these consulates are aggregated under this website, U.S. Travel Docs. Now, I'm going to go back to my browser. U.S. Travel Docs looks like this, and you can see here's a list of all of these countries. I click in here. I can see different countries where there are U.S. consulates. And when I click one of these, it will actually take me to that consulate specific site. Now, there are a couple different systems. We'll go over there in a little bit. The first step before you apply for any appointment or anything at these sites, you can read about their processes, but it's always going to start with filling out your DS-160. And that is done through this system. You can see this is a .gov system. Every DS-160, if it's not paper, is filled out through here. So they're all going to start filling out this DS-160. It will, you can pick the country and you can pick the consulate that you want to apply at here. The important thing is that will lock you into the country you're applying. It does not necessarily lock you into the consulate for the interview. So if you're applying in India, you're an Indian citizen, you may say, hey, I'm close to Delhi. I'm going to select Delhi in the system. Later, you see that Mumbai has only a 30-day wait time. You can change and reschedule your appointment to Mumbai to take advantage of that. So just something to keep in mind. Now, after that, you're going to have your DS-160. This is where it can kind of get very, very specific. There are basically 3 different online appointment systems broadly that the consulates use. And they either start with cgifederal.secure.force.com or ais.usvisainfo.com or right through that U.S. Travel Docs site. Now, I'm going to jump back here to the browser because I want to show you what some of these sites look like. And I just reached all of these sites by going in this list and clicking, whether it's India or UAE, you just click that link. Can't find it in here. Let's say that consulate doesn't have a relationship with U.S. Travel Docs. You can just Google it. Google your specific consulate and really look into the processes at that specific consulate. But we're going to go just through a couple examples of what these look like. Okay, so clicking India. I clicked India. This is the first thing that popped up. Important notices, right? I scroll down and I see requesting an expedited appointment. It says applicants can request an expedited appointment through our online appointment system. Okay, great. What does that mean in process? You basically can go into their system, which is right here, and you'll see cgifederal.secure.force. Now, some of these, you're going to get an account with the DS-160, but some of them will also, require you to click, create a new user and then put in your DS-160 number to match to your DS-160. So make sure when you have that DS-160, really save that and you have that available for you. But when you create your account or you have it in there, you log in, and there are YouTube videos on how to do this. I don't have an account because I'm an attorney, so I don't have a U.S. applicant account. But when you go in here, it basically will schedule your appointment, and there's a big banner that says request an expedited appointment. You go through there, and basically it will just give you, what's your reasoning. You type that in, and it may give you an email on how, where to send this expedited appointment letter. So the main thing, that was one example in India of, their guidance. It was very limited, but it's through the system, CGI Federal. They have a very clear way to go in and request an expedited appointment and reschedule your appointment if necessary. There are YouTube videos on that specifically for India, and it works for any other consulate that uses CGI Federal. Okay, but then let's say we want to go to UAE, right? And we're looking, maybe they've got better wait times. That this is a very common consulate for many international students to apply at. It's a little confusing, but you go to U.S. visa and you basically continue to, FAQs. I'll skip ahead here. Let's see here. And so you can see expedited, first schedule a regular visa appointment on the closest date, then sign into your account, request expedite, and follow the instructions. So you may have purpose of travel, you're going to have our expedited support letter, but the main thing first, you have an appointment through that system. This is the system right here, and you can see their press release. You schedule this regular visa appointment. This is called the AIS system. So you see, you have completed a DS-160. Here's the link. You go in, you apply, and you go through this system. It will then allow you to schedule an appointment, and then you can request an expedited visa appointment. Now, the main thing you want to do is not request the expedited visa appointment until you have our invitation letter and our expedited visa support letter. I'm going to say that again. I've said it before. I'm going to just say it again as we go through all these different systems. But this is what the AIS.US visa system looks like. UAE uses it. Other consulates use it. Brazil. It's going to be specific to your consulate. So remember, go back to that. If you're not sure where you're going to apply, US travel docs. If your country is not in here, it will show up in Google. Just Google your local US consulate, and it will direct you to one of these three systems. Now, the third system, and this is the oldest system, but I think it's the most clear, and this is kind of what they call the red band. You can see it's got this red band on the top. But this is through ustraveldocs.com. And I got here just by going to Pakistan, clicking right here, took me to this website. There was all these drop downs. Okay, I click apply for an expedited appointment. So right down here, here's the steps, right? I can go here. They give me more information. This is great because it's a little bit of more details on how to do things, more collected. But then they still, in the end, are directing us back into one of these two systems. So there really are two systems, but some of them will have this US Travel Docs portal. The US Travel Docs portal, what it's good for is it will really lay out clearly how do I apply for an expedited appointment. Now, two important things again. Schedule your visa appointment first for the earliest possible date. It is okay, and I'll go back to my presentation here. It is okay if your appointment is after your start date. That's very normal, right? You schedule that appointment, Then you come back to AMO and you say, hey, I need my invitation letter. I need my expedited support letter. So step 4, you got your appointment through one of those 2 systems I mentioned, or system 2B, and it's for 2024 and your rotations in 2023. Go back to your coach, let them know that you have the appointment, you're going to request an expedited appointment. We will give you a visa invitation letter. We will give you an expedited support letter. Now, I'm not going to show you what that letter looks like right now because I draft each one uniquely and for your specific situation. So it's my legal work. But this letter is going to point to kind of the urgent need of your travel. And you can submit this letter either directly through the system, or when you create that appointment, it will give you an email to send any attached, any additional documents. You may think, why isn't AMO sending this email on my behalf? And that's because when you apply for the visa, you're applying as an individual. They are really not supposed to be accepting documents from us for your application. An application is between you and the consulate. Now, if you were enrolling in a school in the U.S. and you had an F1 visa and a CVIS number, that CVIS number would be attached right to your school, and then your school could send documents on your behalf. But we've tried to reach out to consulates before. We still do it in emergency situations, but really, you need to be the person that reaches out to that consulate after you schedule your expedited appointment letter, or your expedited appointment, and send them the additional documentation if you can't do it through one of those 2 portals I showed you. After that, all you have to do is wait. So once you have this appointment in, there's usually a call center or an email that you can check in with. But really, at that point, while your expedited request is processing, you kind of just have to sit and wait. And we will try to email the consulate on your behalf. Typically, they do not respond, or they respond saying we can't comment on individual visa applications. But the key piece is just really follow the details of that consulate when you're creating your application and then requesting that expedited appointment. So I'll just go back, give a quick summary of everything, and then we can answer a few questions. We have these links in the chat. We will distribute this recording to our reserved students for their own visa situations. And I think the last thing I want to say is, if your expedited appointment is denied, all is not lost. We had a significant number of students last year that applied to the match using only virtual rotations for their LORs. The majority of these students matched using virtual rotations. So if you need to participate in the match cycle and you don't have a visa appointment until 2024, it's not going to work, you can still apply for the match this year. You just need to work through a virtual rotation. These rotations are great because it's the cutting edge of medicine in the United States. It saves you thousands of dollars in travel and housing, so you can do more of them, do programs that are higher cost, maybe more prestigious physicians and programs, and you can still earn those LORs, and do it from the comfort of your home. So we know people want to do it in person. We really are pushing, we want these consulates to open up more. We really want to help with these expedited appointments, but the reality is some of these expedited appointment requests will be denied. And some countries are even more strict than others. It really is a country to country and a consulate basis. So if you don't have it, you can't get this expedited appointment, we can postpone you, we can switch you to virtual, we can do a bunch of different things to help you, stay on track for your match journey. But to recap, step 1, check your appointment wait times. Look at all the consulates in your country. Look at third countries if you're not sure. UAE is a really common one. And apply at the one that has the best wait time, and a clear system for requesting an expedited appointment. Remember, apply for a B1, B2 visa, or if you're a member of the ESTA countries, and again, the list is right here. This is often Europe, some additional countries. You do not need a visa. You can just go through the visa waiver program, ESTA, 90 days in the United States for B1, B2 travel. Once you have your idea of which consulate you want to apply to, you have to learn about that consulate in the process. So you go search through this U.S. Travel Act system, you can Google it. If it's not in there, that consulate is going to have specific instructions for requesting an expedited appointment and really just even requesting an appointment in general. You're going to then fill out your DS-160. You're going to save that number, and then you're going to follow the instructions for scheduling an appointment for that consulate. It's usually through one of these two systems. Some will have the red band site, which just gives more specific information, still often directs you back into one of those two systems, or it may ask you to email the consulate with the letter and an explanation, typically through one of these two systems. You have your scheduled appointment. It may be past the date. If it's past the date of your start date, then we need to request an expedited appointment. You can do this through either of those two systems very clearly. Request expedited appointment. If they're not using one of those two systems, or they have a secondary process, it's probably going to be through email, and they're going to give you an email to send an explanation, your DS-160 number, and any supporting documentation. So you would want to do that with our expedited request letter. It's really important that before you submit that expedited appointment request, you go to your AMO coach and you request this letter, because this letter is going to lay out, basically our reasoning for why your travel is urgent. Your education, we don't want to slow down your education. The program has agreed to host you as a trainee. Rescheduling this program would put a burden on you and a burden on the program. So we feel very comfortable with that reasoning. We'll give you that letter, and we are having a lot of success. That does not mean it's guaranteed. If you apply and you keep checking and they deny you, you can either reschedule your interview to a different consulate, try to apply there. We can postpone your rotation, or you can switch to a virtual rotation, and maybe we do an in-person rotation once the wait times improve. All right, so now I'm going to go to the chat. Okay, so there's a lot of questions here that are just around general visa types. B1, B2 is a joint type of visa. You can apply for both categorizations at the same time. We always recommend that. Now, you may see that our invitation letter says B1. That's because B1 and B2 are two different classifications of visa. So we don't write a support letter for a tourism visa. We support the B1 portion of the visa, the B1 business visitor visa. B1, B2 just gives you more flexibility. Let's say you want to come back later and do tourism. B1, B2 is the way to do it. So it's the most common type of visitor visa issued, and that's what consulates are most comfortable with. Okay, a lot of these are just kind of like, what's the next step? So yeah, if you apply for B1 visa, that's fine. An observership, and you can Google this yourself. There's language in the Foreign Affairs Manual allowing medical doctors to come for an observership on a B1 visa. That is what our invitation letter says. So if you apply for B1 instead of B1, B2 for your observership, that's totally fine. If you're coming on an observership, you should always be B1 or B1, B2. Never B2 alone. There's no language in the B2, tourism visa for an observership. Just to note, we don't do anything with H-1B or any job placement. So, AMO is not for jobs, it's for training for medical students and other students. So just to be very clear on that, dentistry as well. I think, let's see here. Yes, no J1, no F1, no M1. As I said previously, M1 and F1 are for U.S. schools when you're enrolling as a visiting student. When you're coming for an observership, you're a graduate, you're not earning any credit. Or when you're coming for an elective, you're coming as a student of your home school. So you're not applying with an F1 or an M1. A J1 is for residency. So if you match, later on you would come through a J1 or an H1B, not for these programs. Miriam, as I said previously, a B1, B2 is 2 visa classifications together. So it's just a B1 plus a tourism visa. It gives you the most flexibility. So both a B1 and a B1, B2 visa can both work for our programs, and they both include B1 visitor status. B1, B2 just gives you 2 visa classifications to be under. It gives you more flexibility to do tourism, come back later to visit, the Statue of Liberty or whatever you want to do. B1 is just for the programs. If you come on a B1 visa and then try to re-enter later for tourism, they may require you to change status to B1, B2, or B2 alone. All right, and I think we're just getting very specific questions here. We don't do any other types of visas or no laboratory science. This is for clinical rotations. There are some research rotations, but they're training rotations for medical students, nurses, dentists. Yes, B1, B2, yes, you can use for tourism. That's B2. B2 is tourism, B1 is business. They consider an elective or an observership to be a business visitor classification. B2 is just tourism. Yeah, so Emmanuel, that situation right there is kind of one of the situations I was talking about where you can cancel, and if you want to try again, you can fill out a new DS-160 and try in a third country. You can also try at a different consulate within Ghana. And really, if you're not successful in a third country, we can help with virtual, or we can just postpone you until the appointment times change, or until your normal appointment is scheduled. Yeah, if you're applying for a visa, I mean, if you have an observership in October, November, apply now. Apply as soon as possible. I'll just bring this this screenshot up here. Give me 1 second. I showed this at the beginning of the webinar, but these are the current wait times for consulates. You can see here, so for example, Ghana, which Emmanuel just said, the standard wait time is 481 days. It's a year and a half. You need to apply for your visa as soon as possible, even if it's for next year. Kareem, some of these questions are just kind of general and things we've already covered. I encourage you to watch the recording of this meeting, just for a recap on this. And you should definitely first reserve your rotation before you apply for the visa, because we don't have an invitation letter for you. So you can fill out a DS-160, you can schedule your appointment, but you won't have the details on where you're going. So it really is best, and we highly recommend you reserve the rotation first, and then you fill out your DS-160 using the rotation details for a replacement letter. Otherwise, you won't have any information on your rotation in order to fill out the DS-160, and you won't be able to complete it. Again, here are the current wait times in India, but I want to direct everybody back to this website here. you can pull out any consulate that you want and look for an appointment time. So yes, and Precious, yes, we have gotten expedited appointments for observerships. Yes, it really depends on your consulate, but we've been successful for doctors requesting observerships. It's a necessary training program under 3 months in duration. So yeah, we have had success with that. You know, Pakistan, just for our Pakistani applicants. Again, here is the Pakistani instructions on how to do an expedited appointment. Watch this recording again. I'll show you exactly how to find this page and get to it. And yes, that you should be able to apply for an expedited appointment here. And yes, you can always extend your visitor visa for a required purpose. So if you come and you get a visa for, let's say, 6 months entry, you can apply for an extension to stay for U.S. employee. You should apply, like I said, questions about when to apply, everything like that. The best time to apply is right now, as early as possible. There is no use in waiting. Every day that you wait is a chance that it's going to take even longer to get your visa and you're going to need to postpone. Apply and reserve your program as far in advance as possible if you want the best chance at getting an appointment and being able to come for your rotation on time. I cannot stress that enough. The earlier, the better. You will have a higher chance of getting into your rotation at that time. Apply for your rotation, reserve your rotation, immediately follow the steps to apply for this visa, and then apply for an expedited appointment as necessary. Yeah, this video is recorded and we will be sending it around. Iman, we covered all this earlier, but you can schedule an appointment there with an advisor to kind of talk through the system. Again, ustraveldocs.com is the place to find all of the consulate specific procedures. If you can't find them on here, just Google your specific consulate and they're going to have detailed instructions on how to request an expedited appointment. They are different for every consulate. So it's really important to find that consulate, you look for those expedited appointment instructions, and you follow them exactly. All right, well, thank you, everybody. I really hope this was helpful. I know it was general information. I couldn't speak to everybody's specific requirements, but just know that to take a step back, search your visa wait times in advance, pick out and reserve your program as far in advance as possible to give you the best chance of getting a visa. As soon as you reserve that program, start the visa steps. Talk with your coach, go fill out your DS-160, schedule an appointment following the instructions on your consulate's website. And then if your appointment is after your rotation, that's okay. Request an expedited appointment following the steps they listed, and we will generate an expedited appointment support letter for you. We've been very successful in using this letter. It doesn't work every time. It doesn't work at every consulate, but we have been very successful. So if you are denied, we have other options for you. Different consulates, different countries, virtual, postponement. But the main thing is that you will have a higher chance of coming to your rotation on time the earlier you start this process. So if you're coming to us for August right now, and you don't have a visa, I can tell you, I can almost guarantee that you're not going to be able to get a visa for. But if you're coming for August 2023, the best time to reserve that program is now. So we have a full year to get your appointment lined up and make sure you get that appointment, get that visa in time. All right, well, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. We will be posting it on our Facebook, on our Instagram, and I wish you the best of luck in your career. And if you reserve with AMO, we will give you, I'm an attorney, we will give you the best chance possible to get this visa. And just know in the United States that we are pushing our consulates to reopen and get more resources so these wait times can come down. We really appreciate your time today, and thanks for choosing AMO, and hopefully we'll talk soon.